So when I'm going through a difficulty, what does that look like? And there's an example that I read recently that I want to share with all of you on the call today, which is one about when a wind or a strong wind during a storm hits a tree. What you see happens is that the tree will bend to accommodate the wind. And then when the wind stops, the tree will come back to its normal position. And so you often see during storms that trees tend to move with the wind, but then they often come back to their position after the wind stops. And this is a nice example of what we mean by resilience, that sense of how do we bend in the face of difficulties but not break. And that really talks about accommodating difficulties, making room for difficulties. And it's an interesting thing because most times when we're faced with difficulties, our knee-jerk reaction might be, and by knee-jerk I just mean our automatic reaction in that moment, might be to either want to suppress it or deny that it's there because it's just too much to deal with. Or we might try to struggle with it because it's unpleasant. We don't like the feeling of grief. We don't like the feeling of hardship. We don't like the anxiety that comes with COVID. And so we try to struggle with it. We don't want to have these feelings. But what we know about struggle, especially in the context of difficulties, is that it can lead to what we call secondary suffering. And what secondary suffering is, in a nutshell, is really just suffering that comes as a result of our response to primary suffering. So COVID is an example of a primary suffering, something that you did not ask for, you did not choose, but you found yourself there. But the way that you respond to COVID can then lead to secondary suffering. So an example of that is you might get anxious about, is COVID, am I going to get COVID? Or you might get frustrated that this is going on and I can't go out and I want to go and see my friends. Or you might get upset that, your friend hasn't called you during the COVID hour. And so now you're like, well, where is she? She hasn't kind of reached out to me. So it's the emotions that come as a result of struggling with that difficulty. And I want us to experience that a bit. And I want us to try and exercise together now. And something to say about the exercises is just, it's up to you. I give you permission to join. If you don't want to, that's okay. But for people who feel comfortable doing it, please join me in the exercise. So what I want you to all do now, just for a couple of minutes, is no matter what you do, do not think about a pink elephant. Do not think about the fact that the elephant is pink. Do not think about the long nose of the elephant. Do not think about the elephant's trunk. Do not think about the noise that an elephant makes, or the fact that an elephant is pink in the first place. Just no matter what you do, just do not think about a pink elephant. Just don't think about the features of a pink elephant or where you might find a pink elephant. What are people thinking about at the moment? Somebody said that's impossible. What are people thinking about? As I was saying not to think about a pink elephant, what were people thinking about?
We're thinking about a pink elephant.
Yeah. Now imagine if we carry that on. Yeah, I said it so much. I thought about it a lot. Exactly. Now imagine if we did that for an hour, and then we did it for 2, and then we did it for a month, and then a year. What would that be like? No matter how much I kept saying that and putting that in your attention to try not to think about it, what would that be like for people? I mean, most times when I do this exercise, people say it would be exhausting. I'll just get tired. I'll check out. And that's what it's like when we struggle with difficulties. The very act of not wanting something puts that thing in the forefront of our minds. And what we also know then is that can then even prolong how long we're dealing with that struggle.